Hi, I'm Kim Sauer at Apex 2016. I'm joined by Mike Konrad from Aqueous. Mike, thank you for taking the time to come to speak to us. And it's always great to see you, and we just want to delve into the aspect of cleaning a little bit with you. So things are evolving, and there are lots of people offering products that say there's no requirement to clean, but surely there still must be.
Yeah, in our world, in the electronic assembly cleaning industry, we can divide our world into almost like a BC and an AD, like the Gregorian calendar. BC would be before the Montreal Protocol, that's before 1989 to 1996. And then AD would be today, every time after the Montreal Protocol. Montreal Protocol being the United Nations treaty that banned CFCs and other solvents that were being used to clean boards. During that time, before the Montreal Protocol, pretty much everybody cleaned. There were very few exceptions to that. And then when the industry learned that their favorite solvents were going to be discontinued, the push toward water-based cleaning and other environmentally responsible solvent kind of came up. And then at the same time, this new technology at the time called No Clean would come out. And this was pails of flux and jars of solder paste that didn't require cleaning, according to the manufacturer. So for the most part, cleaning ended, except for military and medical and other high reliability applications. So, and we lived in a kind of a state of no clean happiness for a good part of 20, 25 years. And lately, cleaning has kind of become relevant again. And I say this every year. I've been in the cleaning industry for 30 years, and every year I say it's more relevant today than it was before, and every year that is more true. Today, cleaning is more required, even for commercial applications, not just the old military medical standards, because of a lot of things. Miniaturization, we're putting components very close together, we're putting them in more harsh environments, we expect our electronics to last longer, we expect them to run twice as fast, cost half as much, and there's really no room for error anymore with electronic assembly. There's no margin for error anymore with electronic assembly. And one of the things that I think a lot of people don't connect the dots on is, we call the cleaning process a defluxing process. We buy defluxing machines, we buy defluxing chemicals, we buy, and we do defluxing processes. And when the flux says it doesn't need to be cleaned, why do we need a defluxing process? And what some people don't realize is that we were cleaning more than flux. We were cleaning flux, and by nature of cleaning flux, we were cleaning everything else that was on the board. So residues from assembly fabrication, or actually from board fabrication, lots of residues from board fabrication stow away onto the board. And then component fabrication residues, flash mold releases and things like that get onto the board. And then assembly fabrication, or assembly residue issues, greasy fingers, moisturizers, after lunch contamination versus before lunch contamination. And then we add flux to it. And when we stop targeting flux, we stop targeting everything. So I call that collateral cleaning. When we go through a defluxing process, there's a lot of collateral cleaning that goes on. And just because the flux may or may not have to be removed, it may have a low residue characteristic that doesn't do much harm, everything else that would have been cleaned had the flux been removed is still there. And the tolerance for residue, the tolerable level of residue that a board can handle today is far less than a board could handle 5 years ago, or 10 years ago, or 20 years ago. So more and more people are discovering that they need to clean, not necessarily for the flux, maybe, but certainly for the accumulation of the totality of all the contaminant species that can be on a board.
Which you touched upon some of the industries that obviously require cleaning because of the nature of what they are, high reliability. But you also said that obviously it's relevant to a lot of other industries. But is there a level of cleanliness that is required for different applications?
Yes, and the answer to that question, to take it one step further, how clean is clean, or how clean is clean enough, it is a kind of a cocky answer, but the answer is truly it depends, and it depends on many things. And the first thing one must determine to establish a cleanliness value is what's the cost of failure. does someone die, or is it an inconvenience, or is it planned obsolescence? Failure can be good. Failure could be devastating. What's the cost to the company's reputation? What's the cost for replacement and recalls and things like that? The other question someone has to ask is, where's the part going? What's the environmental scenario? So is it going down an oil well in Houston and picking up temperature and vibration measurements, or is it going in a Cisco server farm in a humidity-controlled environment? It'll never see extreme conditions. So the cost of failure, the environmental context that the product will be running in, and the density of the board. Some boards that have components less densely populated on the assembly can handle more residue, and those that can't handle more residue are usually those that have components very, very tightly spaced. We do have a cleaning standard. It was adopted from military through Weapon Spec 6536, then Mil Standard 2000A, and then IPC adopted it, and it's a guideline to how clean board should be, and the acceptable guideline is 10 micrograms of sodium equivalent per square inch of surface area, or 1.56 per centimeter squared, when using a resistivity of solvent extract tester like a zero ion or a megameter or something like that. And that's a industry guideline. The problem is that guideline was introduced in the 70s, and boards looked quite a bit different. The characteristic of components on boards were very different in the 70s than they are today. So that guideline is really much looser now than it ever has been before. And so when we're asked to recommend cleanliness levels to our customers, we ask them, what happens if it fails, and where's it going, and all the questions that I just mentioned. And then the true answer would be 0.0 is a solidly clean board. Every point above 0, so as soon as you get to 0.1, 0.2, 5.5, 8.8, one has to really factor in the cost of failure and the design of the board, where it's going, and all of that to really drive that number to the lowest reasonable number.
Okay, and with density, complexity, and all that actually becoming more dense, more complex, cleaning is here to stay.
Cleaning is certainly here to stay. It took a small vacation. It didn't quite go away, but it's more relevant now than it's been since the Montreal Protocol took a good portion of that business away.
Okay, well, Mike, thank you very much. Great seeing you.
Pleasure.
Thanks for the chat.
Good to see you.
Thanks.